And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, or what we call it today is Blizzard Thursday, December 18th. And boy, I'll tell you, Mother Nature isn't messing around out there today. We've got road closures. We've got I-29 closed from Grand Forks north to the Canadian border. 220 is closed in from Climax northward in Minnesota. And travel not advised throughout much of the area from generally the 94 corridor northward, as we've got really nasty winds out there. We've got winds that have been gusting over 60 miles an hour, both in Fargo and Grand Forks. Most everybody has seen gusts between 50 and 60 miles an hour. Just looking out the window behind us, and we've got a band of heavier snow stretching now between Grand Forks and Fargo, moving due south through the valley. So we're going to continue to see visibility down to, at times, out in the open country. Once you get outside of the city limits, we're down to about a block visibility, Bridgette. I don't know if you've been out and about, but it is nasty out there.
There is no reason to be out and about if you don't need to right now. I would say we are faced with plenty of wind that started up overnight. Amadon, North Dakota recorded a 91 mile per hour wind gust this morning. Based on what my trees were doing, I think I'll be picking up some branches again. We do have no travel advised in southeast North Dakota, so we're looking all the way over from 281 south of Jamestown to the Red River of Minnesota. And so I don't think anybody really needs to be in any hurry to get outdoors today.
No.
If you are working outside with the temperatures that we have, which, let's see, right here in Hunter, I have about 1 degree, but, frostbite sets in pretty fast in that type of wind. Probably an easy 15, 20 minutes before you got frostbite. So if you have to go outside for something, dress warm, bundle up. Folks have made sure to put up wind breaks for cattle, and I have no doubt we will find some casualties of war, you might say, blowing into each other's yards by the end of the afternoon.
Oh, without a doubt. In fact, today was garbage day in the Fargo area, and literally I went home on break, and there were garbage cans just blowing down the road. I mean, people aren't going to find them; they'll be gone. And looking outside right now, we've got here, and this is probably the peak of the storm. Coming through the Fargo Moorhead area right now, and this will last about another hour or so. So this is the peak part of it, and it's probably not going to improve until we get towards about 4 o'clock today. That's when most of this activity should start to pull off to the east, and we'll be looking at slightly improving conditions as we head towards evening. But the next couple of hours through about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, we're still going to see snow, blowing snow, visibility down to less than a quarter of a mile. So blizzard conditions will continue for the next few hours. And then as we get after about 7 o'clock tonight, we'll start to see the winds lighten up. Snow will be gone by then. And we'll actually see clearing skies overnight. But it is going to be cold. Thankfully, the winds will lighten up because we're going to be dropping to between 10 and 15 below. And then quick rebound on Friday. A warm front will be pressing through the state. That will turn our winds to the southeast. On the breezy side, we'll have highs in the low 20s, maybe a few snow showers. I'm not expecting much, a tenth of an inch or so out of that. And then colder air dumps in for Saturday. Breezy conditions, teens, 20s on Sunday. The good news, and try and carry some good news with this, is as we head into Christmas week, I don't see any travel issues, and I see temperatures in the 30s for Christmas week. So looking pretty nice. That's great news. A lot of people traveled during the Christmas holiday, and it looks like it's going to be a quiet week next week. So let's get this out of the way this week, and we have a nice quieter week as we head into next week. And I know you were saying earlier, Bridgette, about the wind chills, and that's one thing I think a lot of people kind of overlook. If you are out, if you have to go out in your vehicle, even if you're in city limits, make sure you have a winter weather survival kit. I know that's common sense to us that live up here, but maybe there's visitors or somebody new to the area. Make sure to have a winter weather survival kit. You get caught out in this with, I believe we got wind chills 20 to 30 below out there. That's life-threatening. And in the middle of a blizzard, yeah, like you said, just don't go out. Stay home. Tomorrow, if you've got something to do today, I'm sure it can wait till tomorrow when the weather is much more tolerable out there.
Well, maybe later today, since it's warming up, or might be, you can head on over to the Coral Laundromat. They are our studio sponsor, and they have fireplaces, big screen TVs, play area for the kids. Sounds kind of nice. Maybe take a little hot chocolate with you, and you can get the laundry done. They've got some excellent commercial machines to take care of all the dirty needs you might have. Now, you may also have a little free time if classes got canceled and you're a student from a sophomore in high school to a sophomore in college. You can indeed go ahead and fill out your application to be a Weather and Ag in Focus Assistant Ag Director, sponsored by Cass County Farm Bureau. If you are curious how to get that application, email me, ag@flagfamily.com. My inbox is powered by Superior Grain Equipment because they bring you superior grain storage, drying, and handling solutions at superiourbins.com. Dean will take emails, weather@flagfamily.com, and we'd be happy to hear your road reports today on the JLA Insurance phone line. You can reach us at 701-293-9000. But for the 2026 cropping year, higher premium subsidies, more coverage options, stronger benefits for beginning farmers, you're going to want to have that conversation with Nate Thorsrud of JLA Insurance. And if you are watching our live stream sponsored by Lighthouse Commodities, you saw it is whiteout conditions outside. Those who are watching have already been sending some messages making note that that doesn't look great over there. And if you want to see what's happening out our windows, you can do that by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV to see our live stream every day here on the show. Hopefully, no garbage cans go sailing by as the show goes on today.
Yeah, no kidding, boy. I don't recall. I mean, I've been through storms up here, but I don't recall sustained gusts like this between 50 and 60 for most of the afternoon. I mean, this is it. I hate to say we're lucky, but can you imagine if we didn't have that warm up where we melted a lot of this away? If this would have came a week earlier before we got the warm up with all that fresh powder on the ground, it would have been an app. I mean, that's how it is right now up and around the Grand Forks area. So we're looking at that up north. But we've got a caller on line one. Caller, what's your name?
This is Tim.
Tim, what's going on?
Well, I'm just out and about here. And you can't really see a whole lot. But I've seen a lot of people driving around with no lights on whatsoever.
Oh.
And if I had $1 for each car I've seen with no lights on, I could retire today.
Oh.
I mean, it's just unbelievable with roads like this, winter weather like this.
Mm-hmm.
Common sense, turn on your lights. This is not like, I've never had this before. It's like you live up here, be prepared, turn your lights on for other people. I just have like two people pass me, no lights on whatsoever.
And Tim, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles just passing on 29 now. 3 of them didn't have their lights on. There's a 4th one that doesn't. Yeah. Most cars they should have the automatic lights that go on, but if you don't, or even if you do have the automatic lights that go on, double check to make sure those are on.
You have No. Yeah. It's not even the daytime runners, and Tim will understand this. You've got to physically turn your lights on to have tail lights. So anybody coming up behind you will not see you with your daytimes on.
Yeah, and I have those my automatic lights that come on when it gets dark. But I'm I'm flipping it all the way on. And I even put even if I put my fog lights on, my back lights come on. And and people are driving around just with their that on. No, marking lights, okay, but you got to have them fully on. And I don't see why not. That the officers out here, they need to really pay attention to these people that do not have lights on, because that's how accidents happen. If you want to go home safe, put your lights on. Common sense, people. But if you get in an accident or you get stuck and you get in because you don't have your lights on, that's on you.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Good point. Yep. No doubt.
Yep, turn them on.
So
make sure that you have those lights on. Tim, that is an excellent point. Very, very glad that you are sharing that with us today.
And one more thing, and I've seen this a lot too, Tim. Stay off the phone. Like, I've seen people literally, they'll be driving along and they're texting. I said, "Are you?" It's amazing. I mean, come on.
I even seen that when it's not weather like this. I've gone by driving in my semi. I look over and there's somebody looking on texting while they're driving. I'm like, seriously? Isn't that a law? I mean,
Yep.
I'm like, come on, people. It's like, what? Really? And it's like, okay, I'm just waiting for somebody just to like stop all of a sudden, and then like, oh, there's an accident. Well, get off your phone. Put your phones away unless you have a Bluetooth headset. Turn your lights on. Pay attention if you want to get. And I just saw one person go by, four ways on. That's not a bad idea either. If you're driving around, if your lights don't work, put four ways on. Something to indicate that you're there. Everybody would like to get from point A to point B safely. Let's just be courtesy.
Absolutely.
Put your lights on.
Absolutely. Tim,
It's just common sense.
Yeah, no doubt, Tim. Hey, thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. We've got Terry on line too. Terry, you got a weather question for us?
Yeah, Dean, I was curious about something. When we get these northwest clippers that come through, where is the moisture being grabbed from to produce snow?
Good question. These clippers are basically and I hate using this phrase, but it is what it is. There's an atmospheric river of moisture. That's the pattern that we've got right now. So this is coming in straight off the Pacific up into Alberta and then diving southward into our area. So you typically don't get your bigger snows with this. And by bigger, I'm talking, 8, 9, 10 inches. These are typically those 3 to 6 inch snowfalls because they don't have as much moisture being pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. This is coming all the way off the Pacific, and a lot of that gets wrung out over the Rockies. And so that's why there's not as much moisture available with these, but they can still, as you can see today, they can still pack quite the punch.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious of, where when it's coming out of that area, where it's getting the moisture.
Yeah, this is coming right off the Pacific. Thanks,
Terry. Okay, well, hey, thank you.
Hey, great question, Terry. Great question. And we're coming up on break, and
we are.
And I left my show sheet in the other room, Bridgette.
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, our weather is brought to us by Progressive Ag. They are the risk management specialists, and just like Terry said, it's a risk. Tim said it's a risk when you're driving around without your lights on. So turn those on and pull while you're out there, please. Dean mentioned, he doesn't remember sustained winds like this. I know you're new in town. Those of us who grew up here.
Oh yeah.
Like if you remember the storms in the 70s, this went on for 3 days. Oof. And normally you had ice so that the wind would whip your power lines and you could spend 3 days home from school literally pretending it was Little House on the Prairie and doing your homework by candlelight because you needed the generator to run a dairy barn. Just a personal experience. Well, so
thankfully we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, this is not unusual. But we are going to pick up the livestock market from the American Ag Network. We thank them for doing so. When we return, we will be joined by Jason Stout. He is with UAS Service Corporation. We're going to talk about grain protein testers. Because for some of you, we remember the old school method. There's newer and better things, and Jason will tell us about them when we return. Oh, it's brisk outside. Hold on to your hats. A little bit on the windy side. I have a listener question as well here from Doug. And he said he's been doing some traveling and he didn't know the answer to this question. And that was large fields over in Ohio and northern Indiana still have some corn standing on them. Maybe not surprising. I talked to a producer in Wisconsin on Tuesday who said he also still had about 500 acres of corn still in the field. They have had snow and have been getting snow in the last couple of days. And Doug's question was, what will they do with the standing corn when it comes time to rework those fields in the spring? And Doug, for those folks, they're going to still try to combine. They may not be equipped to combine in the snow the way we do up here. And by that, I mean, we have a lot of combines that have tracks on them to traverse those fields when we have snowfall in them. It's important to let the ground harden up. Hopefully there's some cold temperatures. It's almost at a freeze. Otherwise, you're just slugging through mud, trying to drag grain carts, combines, and so forth through there. They will want to try to combine that corn as much as possible. The moisture content can sometimes change. If they have to, they can put it into air bins or a dryer, try to dry it down a little bit before they store it long term. That leaves the stalks. Here, we tend to work more of our stalks, chop them up so that they are broken down into smaller pieces so it's easier to plant our next crop. They may or may not be able to do that there in the spring before they plant their next crop, which would typically be soybeans, but they won't just leave the corn standing without going out to combine it. At this point in the game, you get worried about eardrop because as corn cobs mature, they go from standing up to tipping. And so now if they had wind the way we've had wind today, you'd see those cobs starting to get knocked off, those ears fall to the ground. So things to keep in mind. Hopefully that answers Doug's question. If others have questions out there, again, you can always send emails, ag or weather @flagfamily.com. Thanks to Superior Grain Equipment for powering those inboxes. Our guest today is Jason Stout. He is with UAS Service Corporation just over in Holly, Minnesota. Jason, a lot of people don't even know you're there and what you do. Do you want to give us a little background?
Absolutely, and thanks so much for the invite today. But yeah, UAS Service Corporation. We're a small company here located out in Holly, Minnesota, and all we do here at UAS is we sell and service grain testing equipment to grain elevators, producers, seed companies. If you're testing grain, we're probably doing business with you. The two lines that we kind of specialize in is the FOSS Infratech NIR protein grain analyzer. And then our other big line here is the Dickie John moisture meter. And basically that's what we do here at UAS.
Okay. I have some questions that go along with this, and I hope others do too. When we talk about protein testers, do you remember what the old school method was, how we used to have to go through that at grain elevators before you've made improvements to it?
Yes. So this is UAS. My dad and Tim Stout and his longtime business partner Frank Savasia started this company back in the early '80s, and as I grew up, I was always involved with the business. And when I got into this business in high school, that is when we were working with these old grind or reflectance technology analyzers. And basically how we did it back then, as a farmer would bring his load of wheat into the elevator. The elevator driveway guy would take a sample of his wheat and he would take it to a grinder, and they would grind up that sample into flour, and then they would put a little disc or a little cup disc of flour into the machine, and they would analyze that sample. So that whole truckload of wheat all that they would be looking at was just a little disc of flour for that whole truckload of wheat. And basically they would determine the protein level, which would determine how much they would be paid for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like you're saying,
yeah,
such a small sample is supposedly representative of, at the time, we're probably, dual or triaxle trucks. We've gotten bigger.
Yeah.
Now it would be an entire semi. So the protein does make a difference because you can, as a farmer, can receive higher or lower dollars based on your protein.
Yes.
But are there, Do you have customers saying there are other reasons why they want to look at their protein as well?
The big reason, at the grain elevator setting, they use it as a payment tool, of course, to figure out how much to pay the producer. It's also used as a segregation tool or a blending tool. So,
Hmm.
as they get that wheat in, a lot of these grain terminals, they have, different bins where they have different protein levels in there. And they're going to use this machine basically to tell them what bin to put it in, and then it's
Hmm.
used again when they load the grain out. If they're loading a 110 shuttle train and they're trying to hit a certain protein level for each car, they rely
Sure.
very heavily on this machine to make sure that they are loading the correct protein so that they make grade when it gets to their destination.
Jason, you mentioned that you're using an NIR grain test, basically, like it's an infrared. Is that what you called it?
Yes, that's correct. Hmm.
Okay. When we come back from our bottom of the hour news, I'd really like for you to explain how that works because it's a massive improvement. Accuracy is so much more improved. And then we'll get to moisture testers as well because these are everyday uses on the farm coming right out of Holly, Minnesota. Stay tuned for more information. And it is an excellent day to be visiting with our guest, who is Jason Stout. Jason is with UAS Service Corporation over in Holly, Minnesota. We're talking about protein testers. But because of the work done at UAS in Holly, y'all have a much better method than what we once did. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, as I was mentioning before, the grinder reflectance analyzers back through the 80s, the big issue with those was there was a sample prep and there was a human error element in the equation, and they found over time that depending on your operator and how fast they push the kernels through the grinder to make the flour, or even how they pack that little cup for the flour before they analyze the sample, they found over time that your protein reading could really vary just on how you prep that sample. Well, in the very late 80s, early 90s, this particular company over in Sweden came out with the Infratech analyzer, and it was the first whole grain protein, NIR protein analyzer brought to market. And this machine completely took out the human error element because you were no longer required to prep that sample, to run it through a grinder before you would analyze it. With this machine, you would take a whole kernel sample now, 450 to 500 gram sample. You would load it in the hopper, press your analyze button, and it would begin its analysis. And in 45 seconds, you would have your protein answer there on the display. And what this machine would do, it would take 10 different readings of that 450 to 500 gram sample, average those 10 readings together, and that's how it would arrive at its protein result. So you can see, you're looking at a much larger piece of that sample coming off that load of grain than how we were doing it back in the 80s, the early 80s, with the grind reflectance analyzer. And the Infratech analyzers, it's an NIR machine. Basically, it's using transmittance as its method, and what it is doing, it is taking with a scanning NIRS monochromator, and there's a detector. These are different components of the machine, and it's shining that near infrared light through these fiber optic cables, and it's shining it into 10 different parts of that sample as it cycles it through the measuring unit. And the exact science of it is a little bit over my pay grade, but all I can tell you is that when these machines came out, they took over the grain industry. And I mean, you've got to look pretty hard nowadays at a grain elevator handling wheat to find a machine that isn't a whole grain analyzer now. They're just so far more superior, so far more accurate than the way we were doing it back in the earlier days.
Boy, you guys have revolutionized the industry and just streamlined that process, as you said, to take out some of that human error and give us much more accuracy, which
Yes.
is well wanted on the receiving end of that grain, whether you're at the millers, bakers, etc. And you mentioned wheat growing regions. Is there a need for it in any other crop as well?
Yes, our analyzers are used for oil analysis as well, whether it be in soybeans or canola is a big growing area now. I don't care if you're in Canada or the U.S. If you're raising canola or handling canola, this oil content in canola is becoming a very big deal. Even more so in the soybeans now. There's we've got calibrations for some of these different properties in soybeans, whether it be high oleic, or the sulfuric acid. There's a lot of these groups that are getting very interested in those parameters now. So the oil side of this machine has been a big area of growth for us.
Now, one other area that you mentioned was the Dickie John moisture testers, because moisture matters. That's how we decide if we're going to get out there and combine a field or not. Did you originate that technology, or have you improved it to bring it forward to the market? How did that work, Jason?
Just a distributor and a service center for these products. So we didn't invent this technology by any means, but we certainly help support it and get it out there to our various customers across the U.S. and Canada.
And so for those testers, you have like the smaller size that someone might carry in a combine. You might have the more large commercial size that we're finding at grain
Mhm.
elevators, et cetera, correct?
That's correct. Yes. Hmm.
And we use them throughout a variety of crops. It's actually just a very valuable tool we see all across the farm and the elevators.
And and Jason, we've got an emailer question asking, what do you see in the next 10 years with this technology? AI taking over? Or
Yes.
okay.
Yes, yes. AI is it's going to revolutionize the grain industry. I'm already seeing this change now. My brother and business partner, we were just actually up in Saskatchewan here at the first part of this week, calling on some customers, and we're friendly with a group out of Regina, Saskatchewan, that is actually coming out with a image. Grain quality testing machine. All right. This is a
Mm-hmm.
whole grain analyzer that is set up with a series of cameras in the machine, and it's taking pictures of the kernels, and it's looking for damage or different quality issues. And I'm hearing a big push from our federal grain inspection body, whether you're in the U.S. or Canada. They're very interested in this technology. Um, and the reason for that is, again, it comes down to this human error element. They want to take that out of the equation. They just, if they can teach a machine how to grade this grain, then, they don't have to worry about, well, hey, is this grader having a bad day? Is he got his heart into it? Things of that nature. So I see AI kind of revolutionizing here the grain industry, and it seems like it's going to happen relatively fast.
Well, and oops, there, got to make sure I'm not on mute. And I think you're exactly right. AI is getting faster, easier to use in so
Mhm.
many respects. Um, for what you're doing, are you looking at other projects or products right now that would come to market anytime in the near term?
Yeah, that's this. Some of these companies that are coming out trying to harness this AI for grading grain. We're in talks with them. There might come a point where we decide to maybe start distributing their product and then providing service and support. To help them.
Mm.
That's really what we do here at UAS. We sell the equipment, but even more so.
Oh,
I think,
oh,
did we lose him?
no, I think Jason's back now. We
Okay.
lost him for just a
Yeah, yeah.
moment. So
Oh,
there we
sorry.
go. That's okay. All right. So, Jason, you were just talking about service and so forth. So, if someone has problems, they can call you about some of the service on the back end for those protein testers and so forth.
Absolutely. That is service after the sale is our rig. We take that very serious here. That's a big deal, very important to us. I tell a lot of customers, this grain testing equipment is really only as good as the group that you have standing behind it. And so for that reason, we take that very serious. Um, I mean, you can ask around to the grain elevators in this area. Everybody pretty much knows who we are. They want to do business with
Mm-hmm.
us because we're a small company, and we take care of our customers. We monitor our phones 24 hours a day. So, I mean, if it's in the middle of corn harvest on a Sunday afternoon and you've got an issue with your moisture tester, you can call our 800 number here at UAS, and we're going to pick that phone up, and we're going to help you get it figured out. We're going to get you up and going again. We do not want our customers ever to be down, and that's why you do business with UAS.
That's a great point. I mean, you're local, you're right here. You guys are incredibly
Mhm.
responsive. Now, if you could just increase those proteins when people need them, like you said, so they get that little pay
Yeah.
bump, they'd really appreciate that, Jason. Thanks.
I'll try to work my magic.
Jason, if folks want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I invite everybody to check out our website. We can be reached there, www.uasservice.com. or feel free to reach out to us via phone. You can reach us at 800-642-0979.
Well, we do have some photos and things from you, and I know Addison is doing a lot of things behind the scenes for us. Hopefully, we can show some of your photos, your website, and so forth, even while we are on a commercial break. But Jason, thank you. You guys revolutionized the industry, and you're right here in Holly, Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for the opportunity.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll have a quick recap of the weather. We'll recap what it looks like on radar, which is good news, and let you know when these winds are going to die down. All of that and more when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:49 in the afternoon. And we've got still some snow on radar. The back edge of the snow just south of Grand Forks right now. We've got some heavier bands into western Minnesota approaching Lakes Country right now. The snow should start to wind down, around 3 o'clock or so. And then the winds should start to taper off as we head towards about 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. That's when things will start to improve. But we got wind gusts out there between 50 and 60 miles an hour across the area. So, yeah, very windy conditions continue. Visibility is improving a little bit here in the FM area, only because the snow has lightened up. But, again, we've got numerous reports out in open country where visibility quarter mile or less, even down to a block at times. And we'll clear things out tonight. Overnight should be quiet, so that's good news there. But it's going to be cold with temperatures dipping down to about 10 to 15 below. And then another Clipper system rides the U.S.-Canadian border. This is a quick mover tomorrow. It'll sweep a warm front through here, and that could trigger off a few snow showers in the afternoon. Doesn't look like a big deal, but it will be breezy with winds out of the south tomorrow, and then those winds turn to the north on Saturday, dragging in some colder weather after tomorrow in the 20s. Teens on Saturday, back to the 20s on Sunday. And then Christmas week, it looks like we're in the 30s for most of Christmas week next week. So great news for travel, and no big storms on the horizon. So after this storm, we're going to kind of mellow things out for about a week or so, which is always decent news, especially during the holiday times when a lot of people are traveling.
Folks will be very happy to hear and see that. Now, maybe you're already thinking ahead to the summer months. Where are you going to go? What kind of vacation might you have? Are you interested in going to the Iowa State Fair? Because have I got a deal for you. The Iowa State University Dairy Science Club has a fundraiser, and for $3, you can milk a cow by hand. They will put you into a pen with cinnamon, sugar, or what was the other one? Spice. There we go. There's 3 different dairy cows. You get to sit on a hay bale, take a bucket, figure out how to get some milk out of that cow with a little bit of instruction given. And again, it's a fundraiser. So as far as I can tell, here's my $30. Let me just hang out with cinnamon and enjoy my time. But it really is a unique opportunity that allows folks to understand more about how milk comes out. What does that cow eat? Their size, their docility, because they're a pretty calm animal, and they're all halter broke, and they've been around crowds, so they're comfortable and don't get out of hand. So I just see this as an incredibly unique experience. It's called the I Milked a Cow experience at the Iowa State Fair. So if you're thinking about going, what a great opportunity.
And for $3, that's nothing.
$3. At this point, Addison's like, we need a cow here outside, and we'll be doing this on a regular basis.
We could road trip, Addison.
I like the way you think.
Road trip down there. Iowa State Fair is a blast. If you've never been to it, it's pretty fun. Yeah, that's a good time.
It's a great experience. Listeners sometimes ask questions along the lines of, why would we weigh cattle or sheep or any other livestock for that matter? So first of all, when we're ready to take them in for processing, we need to know their live weight. So you're going to be able to distinguish that between the weight when bones and other items are removed. But also, it's important to track the growth. Cattle especially, and sheep as well, always are identified by an ear tag or a metal tag on their ear. And that way you can know which one they are. So maybe number 560 is potentially losing weight instead of gaining weight. And gaining is important, especially if we're raising these as animals for slaughter. But if they're losing weight, this may be an indication of an illness that we need to take care of and treat. When it comes time to treating, antibiotic doses differ based on body weight. You don't just give the same dose irregardless of the size of animal. And so in that situation, you would look at either overdosing or underdosing that animal. But if you have the correct weight, you can be accurate with it and make sure that you're doing things correctly. Nobody wants to overspend on antibiotics. It's expensive, and to treat those animals, and also it's the same thing as in humans. We don't want to overdo it with our antibiotics. We don't want to overdo it in an animal, and we certainly want to treat when they're ill, because that's the same thing you would do for your kids, is to take care of them, make sure they were healthy, And a lot of these animals are treated very much in the same situation. Now, virtual fencing. We've talked about autonomy in machinery, so let's think about it in livestock as well. Instead of having to build new fence all the time, you can put some collars on your animals, sort of like a refreshed dog collar. There's a few things to choose from. Vents is the brand name of a virtual system. It's actually being used by North Dakota State University on some research animals right now. That collar is an option that allows the producer to lease the collars versus having to buy them outright. So based on your finances, that might be a better fit for you. They are truly made for the Western range, big open spaces, and one of its benefits is the 24/7 GPS tracking. That does a big job for those ranchers, especially in areas where if you had, let's say, post-fire, wildfires ran through there in the summer months, animals dispersed and you got to be able to locate them. This is one way to do that. They do have base stations that are solar powered and autonomous, and those collars are battery powered with about a 3-year lifespan to them. eShepherd is a completely different system. Those batteries last about 7 to 10 years. They have a direct to cellular or long range communication option. In fact, you can even be using a app on your phone for some of the tracking with them. And they have a minimum of just 4 collars. So you can use the collars like on the mama cow because you know her calf will track with her. So that helps you take your costs more into consideration as well. Halter is a brand name that was founded in New Zealand, and it's coming to the U.S. about 18 months ago. Those collars were definitely designed in New Zealand because they get significantly less sunshine than we do here in the United States. So that means U.S. ranchers might not have to replace the batteries because of the solar power on them. If you go a couple weeks without seeing the sun, those collars are going to continue to be just fine, so you don't lose track of them. Halter also runs on that low-range communication system as well, based off of cellular towers. And lastly, there's No Fence. It is the only virtual fencing company that offers systems for cattle, but also sheep and goats. Because I can tell you right now, goats, slippery little suckers, they'll wander off. I've seen them get in the back of a pickup like a dog, and maybe the owner didn't want him back. So it can happen. But No Fence does not require a base station. Instead, they use a cellular network like a 2G, 4G, and even Bluetooth. And those capabilities also can help you when it comes to finding out where those critters are at. One of the cool things with eShepherd, I believe it was, is you can actually move cattle from section of pasture to pasture based on beeps and vibrations on the collar. So it's a little bit like a dog collar. It helps them learn that if they just follow the directions the collar gives them, they can easily be moved to new rotational grazing areas without someone having to go to the pasture and do that. These collars have even gotten better that they can now start tracking temperature on an animal to see if they have an infection, if they're sick, and if they have a limp because of the change in their gait, so much more. So there's a lot of sophistication in these collars that we can be using on cattle, again, also on sheep and goats. So we'll see where that leads us.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we are coming up at the top of the hour here, and we want to thank everybody for joining us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. Again, that blizzard warning remains in effect until 6 o'clock. However, conditions will start to improve across the area in about an hour and then gradually get better as we head towards evening. That's the good news. So if you have to be out there, please be safe. And again, make sure your lights are on. So for Bridgette, myself, thanks for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus. Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.